Alright, this is Unit 1 review video number 3. Alright, now for this letter B, I can look this up. If you want to put it into y equals and graph it on your calculator, you can do that. I know that it is a quadratic. It's moved up 5 units. And because there's a negative in front of the x squared, I know it's going down. Now again, you can just get on your calculator, put it in y equals, and find this graph. And based on this, the domain, I can put anything in for x that I want. But I notice that my range is limited because I never go above the 5. I'm always at 5 and below. So y is less than or equal to 5 is my range. For letter C, I know that it's an absolute value graph. If you want to, you can put this into y equals on your calculator and graph it. For all of these, if you're going to put it into the graphing calculator for your window, I would just go back to a standard window where your x min is -10, x max +10, and then your y min and max -10, +10. So you have just a nice small window to look at. This is going to be a V-shaped graph. And again, you can put this in your calculator, and I know that it's moved to the left 4. Now, if you didn't know this, that's okay. That's actually what we're going to be doing in the next unit. It's a V-shaped graph that's way down here in this corner. And the V goes like this. Again, just look this up on your graphing calculator. I can put anything I want to in for x, so the domain is all reals. But my range is limited. It starts at -6 and goes up. It never goes below. So y is greater than or equal to -6. For letter D, my domain is simply 1. I'm going to just underline all my x values. I don't need to write the 3 more than once. And 4, those are my x values. And then my range or my y values, I'll circle my y values. And then I'll list those. 1, 2, 5, -5, and 8. And letter E, I know is an exponential graph. Again, I can put it in my graphing calculator and take a look at it. It's going to be a curve that increases. I know that I can put any value in for x that I want, so all reals. But I notice that it never reaches 0 and it never goes below, so y has to be greater than 0. It cannot equal it though. Exponential functions never actually reach 0. Alright, and then this last question here, we're asked to find f at 5, so I'm going to put a 5 in for x, so I have 2 times 5 squared plus 1. I know that 5 squared is 25 times 2 is 50. Do not multiply the 2 and the 5 first, and then square that. You have to do exponents and then multiplication. So I get 50 plus 1 is 52. Then I'm asked to put x minus 2 in for x squared. So I get 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 1. So I get 2, and I know that this is x minus 2 times x minus 2 plus 1. I'm going to go ahead and do this multiplication of these two binomials, which I'm going to use FOIL to do that. And I'm going to move up here to do that. So I get 2, and when I FOIL these, I get x squared. I get -2x and -2x, my outers and my inners, give me a total of -4x, because -2x and -2x is -4x. And my last term's -2 times -2 is plus 4. And then I still have this plus 1. I'm going to now distribute my 2. And I get 2x squared minus 8x plus 8 plus 1. I am almost finished. I can still get that 8 and 1 together, so I get 2x squared minus 8x plus 9. That's my final answer for part B. Part C asks me to put an x plus 4 in, and then after all that I'm going to have to multiply everything by 3. But let's first put the x plus 4 in. I'm going to go up here on my paper and use a spot up here to do my work. So I'm going to remember that my equation is 2x squared plus 1, and I'm putting an x plus 4 in there. So I get 2 times x plus 4 squared plus 1, which is 2 times x plus 4 times x plus 4 plus the 1. I'm going to multiply these using FOIL. 2. First terms give me x squared. Outers and inners, I always combine. 4x and 4x is 8x. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1. Almost finished. Distribute that to 2x squared plus 16x plus 32 plus 1. So my final answer is 2x squared plus 16x plus 33. However, down at the bottom here, I'm going to scoot back down here, it said once you find that f at x plus 4, multiply everything by 3. So I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to multiply everything here by 3. I get 6x squared plus 48x plus 99. That's my final answer. Right, so I am now going to go over the review drills. And this first review drill gives me an equation. It's an exponential model that can be used to model Towson University's population X years after 2007. So X is years since 2007. And the population, it said, and this must be population. And the university's population in 2012 was 19,541. To the nearest whole number, what is the residual? I have to remember that residual is actual minus predicted. So my actual value in 2012 is 19,541. I need to find my predicted value. Well, from 2007 to 2012 is 5 years. So I'm going to put a 5 into my exponential. I'm going to put that into my calculator. And I get 19,106.23291. I'm just going to put that whole thing down. And I want to remember that residual is actual minus predicted. And since it's actual minus predicted, I'm now going to put this into my calculator. And I get 434.767089. But it does ask me to round to the nearest whole number, which would be 435 because of that 0.7. Okay. Number 2, if a football is thrown upward from a height of 35 meters per second squared is what that's supposed to say. So the height, the initial height is 35, an initial velocity of 20 meters. What is the maximum height in meters reached by the ball? So I'm going to use that formula, h at t equals -1/2 gt squared plus initial velocity t plus initial height. Now, since everything's being measured in meters, gravity is going to be 9.8 meters per second squared. So I'm going to have to make my formula here. H of t equals negative 1/2 times 9.8, I know is negative 4.9, t squared plus initial velocity is 20t, initial height is 35, and I'm going to put this in my calculator and look for the maximum height. So there is my equation in y equals. I'm not sure what I have my window set at right now. That should definitely, it might not be the right window, but I'm going to try graphing and see. Well, I can see the top of where that, the maximum height of the ball, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave it there. So I'm going to go to second trace and find the maximum. And I need to be to the left of that max, and then to the right. And hit enter, pass the guess, and at a little after 2 seconds, I'm going to be 55.41 meters. So we found it 55.41 meters. All right, this next one, for what value of x is this equation not defined? Well, that means that there's some value of x that it's not allowed to equal. And that's because we have x in the denominator. And our rule with functions is, and with any numbers, you can't ever divide by 0, which means that 2x plus 3 is not allowed to equal 0. So I'm just going to solve for x. 2x is not allowed to equal negative 3. Divide both sides by 2. X is not allowed to equal negative 1.5. Alright, the next one. Stephen gets strep throat and Dr. Sick prescribes medication so he can get better. When Dr. Sick prescribes medication, he must consider the rate at which the body filters the medication out of a person's system. If it takes Stephen 3 days to filter out half of the antibiotic, how many micrograms of a 40 microgram dose will remain in his body after 9 days? All right, so I have my starting amount of 40. It has a half-life, and it's in there for a total of 9 days, and there's 3 days in a half-life. So I'm going to put this in my calculator. Now, I recognize right away that 9 divided by 3 is 3. If I didn't, I could put the whole thing in my calculator, or I can just put it in like this. Okay, so I put that in my calculator, and I get 5 micrograms. And I got 5 micrograms. I realize this says non-calculator, but you're going to be allowed to use a calculator for the whole test. F at 2, I'm just simply going to put a 2 into the f function, and I get 13. Put negative 3 into the g function, negative 3 squared, plus 3 times negative 3 minus 4. This is 9. Plus negative 9, which just cancels out, minus 4, is simply negative 4. G of x plus 4, I'm going to put that x plus 4 into the g function here. So x plus 4 squared, plus 3 times x plus 4, minus 4. So I get x squared plus 8x plus 16, because this is x plus 4 times x plus 4, 3x plus 12, and minus 4. Then I'm just simply going to combine like terms. X squared, 8x and 3x is 11x, 16 and 12 is 28, minus 4 is 24. This first one, you just look at what your x and y values are and write those down. This next one is linear, so the domain and range is all real. And this last one is a quadratic. domain all reals and y greater